welcome to the Old Hombre podcast with your host Mense and
Andrew. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Welcome back, everyone. So this is your podcast about business analysis and work life. That's mainly the trends, and this is episode 19.
Nearly there.
That deserves a little bit of a cheer. Thank you so much for coming back. We've taken a small break. I've been ill. And Andrew's been
I've just been grumpy.
Settling into the new year. But we're here with another business deep dive, a special. Today we're going to be thinking about or talking about the pub business, and going a bit into Wetherspoons, which is one of the UK's most beloved pub chains. Or some people hate it, but I think no one in this country would attest to the fact that Wetherspoons has been almost single-handedly keeping the pub business alive at scale. So we're going to look a bit into that business, its history, and we're also going to look into pubs in general, and some of the challenges or the triumphs and tribulations that they're going through, especially in 2025. But yeah, Andrew, I don't know if you've got anything else to share to add to that, or
no. Just what, I'm not the typical pub's best customer. Right. I'll buy a pint of shandy and it will last me all night. But but I do think that they are part of British culture, history. It's just something that we've grown almost. We're almost blinded by it. They're just, because they're everywhere. It just seems to be a matter of, it's just another building that we expect to be there. But exactly. as we'll go into, they're at risk, aren't they? They are a little bit at risk.
So, Andrew, we're going to do a little bit of deep dive into the 2023-2024 accounts, which is actually the latest consolidated accounts for Wetherspoons. Okay. And like I said, I created a bit of a PowerPoint slide here. Here we go. We're going to go into these slides. Right. So can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So the CEO of Wetherspoons is a chap called Tim Martin. Like I was saying earlier on, a very, very interesting guy. He's got a bit of an Australian accent. I didn't actually look into his cultural background, but he's a bit of you might want to check that one out, Andrew. He's got a bit of a twang on his accent. But anyway, he started Wetherspoons off in 1979 in Muswell Hill, North London, which actually surprised me because for those of you that aren't familiar with the UK pub scene, there's Wetherspoons everywhere. And it didn't dawn upon me that this business would have actually started so close to where I live in East London.
Okay.
But 1979. He graduated from school and went straight into the pub business. The guy is about 6'4" or something like that.
All right.
Thought it would be a jolly to start it because he's so big. He thought he would never have any issues, but started from the ground up.
Well, apparently his brother also had a pub chain.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, when he does his interviews and whatnot, it seems like he just kind of loved the pub scene and went into it. But it's very odd that such a young guy would go into it and straight away just buy a pub out of nowhere just because he liked them. But that's kind of how he tells the story. But yeah, first one is based in Muswell Hill. It's no longer the original Wetherspoons. Is no longer a Wetherspoons. It's in Colney Hatch Lane.
Okay.
And it was originally called Martin's Freehouse. In the first month, but in early 1980, it was called Wetherspoons. And a little bit of a fun fact: the reason why
I was just about to ask,
the reason why he called it Wetherspoons, his teacher was called Mr. Wetherspoon, and he was a bit of a handful when it came to teaching. No one ever listened to Mr. Wetherspoon, and because of his own personal experience in the pubs. And, punters not listening to him, regardless of his height or whatever, he said, I'll call it Wetherspoon after this guy that no one listened to.
Oh, fair enough.
Which I thought was quite
you must have liked his teacher.
I think it's a great tribute. But yeah, I thought that was a very sweet story. Yeah. 1979, 1980, called Wetherspoons. And after that, he actually bought another one down the road, because Archway in London. still in North London,
No,
very
very
close
well.
to,
No, very well.
very close to Muswell Hill.
Yeah.
He opened one up, another pub there, and that would actually serve to be its head office.
Right. So this is surprises me, because I would have thought maybe the other way around. So anyone that knows London, Muswell Hill is a little bit well-to-do around there.
Yeah.
And Archway not so much. So for me, I would have thought I was somewhere, a little bit rough and ready like Archway, and then expand out to the more affluent areas. But he seems to have done it the other way around, which is great.
Yeah, super interesting, I think. But yeah, didn't know it was that close to home. So another London bred business. Right, so I've actually done this in intervals of 10 years. Well, sort of ish, right? The reason why I've done that is actually, if you go to the annual accounts, and again, going back to the transparency of this company, the first thing you go into is a massive table with a year-by-year breakdown of how many pubs it's had, how much revenue it had that year, what the pre-tax profit was. Very, very transparent. I've never seen anything so informative straight out of the gates. Yeah, it's incredible. But anyway.
So not loads of fluff and whatever.
No nonsense. And I will definitely kind of share my screen later on just to give you an idea of just how little fluff it is. But yeah, 1992, it grows to 45 pubs. And this quite surprises me. 45 pubs. And it lists on the London Stock Exchange.
Nice. Okay.
So I don't know why, Andrew. I just thought it would have to be bigger to do that. But then,
I did too. I thought 45. Yeah, I know it's a lot of pubs, but to be listed, it doesn't sound like a lot, does it?
Mind you, though, it could have been on the lower end of small stocks.
True.
I don't know. Like, I tried to research history on it, whatever. I didn't find much history on exactly what the launch was like, or any photos of him kind of at the London Stock Exchange doing this or anything like that. It was a bit weird. There wasn't much of a footprint, but I found that very interesting. Another interesting fact, right? And this is really this is what I started to notice as a theme. You can actually go onto the Wetherspoon's website and it'll give you a full timeline of everything they've done. But every year they introduced a small change or a new concept. So, for example, 1992 happens to be the first time that they open up an airport pub, and it was actually the first of its kind. So that was very innovative, right? And then, especially as a big conglomerate. And then in 1990, it also, this is 2 years before this, it opened up its first real ale festival across its pubs. So it was a 4-day affair, which featured 6 beers. And nowadays, it's a twice a year event that actually has 50 beers, 10 of which are beers sourced from overseas. So that was kind of their thing at scale. It was kind of the nation's biggest real ale festival. And it's like these little kind of.
See, I think it's almost like the beer or lager, well, maybe not say lager, but the beer equivalent of wine snobbery.
What, ale?
Yeah, ale and these sort of now we got things like microbreweries and
but that's nowadays. Back then in the 90s, it didn't have that culture. It was just stuff that old men drank, and that's what I'm saying is, honestly, I tilt my hat off to Tim Martin and the Wetherspoons business, and I'm going to explain why it's been so good. I'm a big fan of this, and I don't know if maybe Warren Buffett and big investors, they say, look, be careful what you read in annual reports, because they're basically one big marketing experience, right? It's meant to show the company in the best light. But then, mind you, Andrew, we read the Currys one. Actually, I did get swayed by them, but we read the Boohoo one, and we weren't that impressed at all. No, we read the ASOS one. We were like, nah, whatever. We've read annual accounts now. We've been on this journey now, you and I, for about 6 months or odd. Yeah. And we've looked at different businesses, and they haven't always won us over. But this is one where you read it and you go, wow, like this is interesting. So in 1993 they start expanding out of London. So those 45 pubs that I mentioned earlier on in 1992, those were all in London.
All in London.
And in 1993 it starts to spill out of London, right? And then check this out. Again, another notable win for this business. By 1994, just 2 years later, it reaches 100 pubs in the country.
Well, okay.
So it's just scaling and scaling and scaling, right? Right. So let's zoom a whole 10 years later to 2002. Let's see where this business is at. So by 2002, it becomes the number one bestseller of Pimm's. And that's another,
Pimm's.
and that's another theme that I picked up. Yeah, it's always a significant contributor towards one fashionable brand of alcohol.
Right.
So,
Okay.
for example, about a year or two ago, it was Guinness. They were the number one seller
Yeah.
of Guinness, and it had
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
become the most fashionable drink. But it's always a drink that's on the go and of fashionable drinks. And that year it was Pimm's. And I do remember there was a time where you could see everyone in the park with some Pimm's and cucumbers and all sorts of recipes on in cookbooks and whatnot. But
Never had Pimm's.
I had it once. Very nice. Lemonade, Pimm's
Yeah.
lemonade, a couple of cucumbers, and it's almost like our answer to sangria.
So that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
It reminds me of sangria.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's the British sangria.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. So 2002, 600th pub opens. Right?
Wow.
And what's the new gimmick? Well, it opens up for breakfast 6 days a week. And it's
Interesting fact about Wetherspoons, and I'm not sure if it's real or not, okay, but I did see it online. Apparently, they've got a 5-minute rule,
oh,
okay? If you drop a chip, or a piece of food in the pub and you don't pick it up within 5 minutes, they throw you out.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, I might test that out. Wow. That's I like that. I didn't find anything about that on online.
No, it just
very interesting.
When I was doing a little bit of research,
Yeah.
it came up and I thought that would be interesting.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, 2004 grows to 643 pubs. Yeah, so basically, sorry, before tax profits. That's
Profit.
what I meant.
Oh, profits.
Yeah, profit. Yeah.
Wow.
Very interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2005, sorry, not 2000, in 2002. In 2005, it becomes the number one seller of Pimm's. 2006, another gimmick. I say gimmick, I just mean like extra little value given to customers.
Yeah.
Right? Free Wi-Fi.
That's good.
2006,
As early as that.
Like, always on the edge. Always on the edge. Yeah.
I can imagine people didn't have Wi-Fi in their homes at that time.
Well, this is what I'm. Yeah.
I don't
right.
think I had it. Maybe I dial it or
Dial
something.
up, but not Wi-Fi. But yeah, free Wi-Fi available. Imagine that.
But that's because now it's expected. You can imagine it. That must have been a real draw.
This is my point, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just fell in love with the business just by reading this. Right. 2014. It now hits a whopping 927 pubs.
Wow.
Right? Other interesting things. It opens in July of that year. It opens its first pub in Ireland called the Free Ton Tavern in Blackrock. So that's the picture you're seeing there.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
2015, annual sales exceed 1.5 billion.
Bloody hell. Oh, God. They were on an absolute roll, weren't they?
Yeah, and it employs more than 35,000 staff across the country.
Yeah, you see,
It's an unsung business.
Absolutely.
And you know what? There's so much hate for this guy, Tim Martin, and I'll explain why. But there's so many people ridiculing him, and let's boycott it, and I'll go for your small pub. Look, I love the small pub, but I don't see Wetherspoons as an impediment of the small pub. Does that make sense?
I completely agree with you. As I say, I'm no expert because I'm not a big drinker, but all I kept hearing, especially in those days, about pubs closing down, was not because these big multi-chain pubs are taking over. It was due to the breweries. Yeah. The breweries squeezing the small pub.
Well, you say that, and I'm going to reveal a bit more about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to reveal about that. But the point is this, right? So I don't know, Andrew. There was an ongoing joke in one of the jobs where we both shared, right, where everyone wanted to go to these swanky cocktail bars, and I always was, why don't we just do it at the Wetherspoons, right? Because it was affordable. It was like we can all drink. We can all drink whatever we want because most of the alcohol brands are there, but it's priced at a level that down from the poorest person to the most flashy person can have a decent drink. Yep. And it's beautiful Wetherspoons, and we're going to go into that as well. Establishments that, to be fair, even some of these swanky pubs, they can't afford those buildings, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, some of these places are where you go, you get your Instagram photo and go and leave without buying a thing.
But I'm saying that Wetherspoons actually has this. It prides itself in crap carpets, right, and crap decor. But the buildings themselves are magical.
Well, a lot of them, like if I'm getting this right, a lot of the old historical bank buildings and things like that, they did a lot of taking over some of those that were left. When the banks pulled out and closed down all branches, they were like old buildings that have been there for years.
Well, we're going to get into that. Hold that
Okay.
thought, right? So anyway, in 2016, they decided to open up Wetherspoon hotels, right?
Okay.
So they get to 50 hotels with over 1,000 rooms.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Never stayed in one.
So let's now, neither have I, but I may do now. Now let's go into today, Andrew. Okay, and this is where, the story gets very, very interesting. So what I've done is from that data set that I was explaining to you earlier on about, the table, I've gone and I've made up my own little graph.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to that table that I was explaining that's in the annual accounts. That table starts from 1984. So 1984, it's still registering the one pub that we explained. In 1979 it had its pub. So it's by 1984 it still had one pub. Okay.
Right.
So 1984 it's running at a loss of £7,000. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now we get to 1994, and it's now at 87 pubs.
Right.
And profit before tax 6.5 million.
Nice.
Okay. So this is like rounded up to the nearest. 100,000. Okay. Right.
Oh my God.
Now we get to 2004. 643 pubs.
Wow.
54 million profit before tax.
Interesting, because it's almost tenfold on both the number of pubs and the pre-tax profits.
Right. So whoever bought those stocks.
Yeah.
In when it IPO'd in 1991 or 1992, having a blast, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we get to 2014, 927 pubs. Now we're hitting, right, about 80 million profit before tax, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew.
Yeah.
This time I can't ruin it. Now we're going to zoom into the year 2020, the beginning of COVID.
Ooh.
Andrew, what is your estimations?
Oh, I don't know, mate. It must have been hit hard. I reckon it's gone. I reckon it's lost half the profits at least, down to around 40, maybe 35.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Flipping hell.
44.7 million pound loss. And this is when this was just 2020 when it was declared. Okay. So so let's do some back of the let's get through this period, right? Okay. Yeah. So now I'm not going to I'm not going to skip 10 years because obviously I can't. I'm just going to do the 3 progressive years. So let's agree that 2021 was full COVID. So 2020 was declaration of COVID. 2021 was full blast COVID. 2022 was the edge of the end of COVID.
Yeah. Support your local restaurant, eat out too.
Yeah, and in 2023 is COVID's done, but we're still got a bit of the aftermath of COVID, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So 2020, 44.7 million loss.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. God.
2021, 154 million pound loss.
Shit.
2023, 36 million pound loss. So we're talking over a 3-year period, 250 million pound loss, Andrew.
Yeah.
Right. So let's. I should
have
let you guess. I should have let you guess those.
I know it was tough.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's check this out. Right. So see it this way. So we're back onto 1994. It makes about six and a half. You're good at maths, Andrew. 6.5 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in 2004. Oh no, but we can't do that because then we're missing all the profits in between years. Scrap what I just said, right? But I should have done that. But the point is this: 250 million. Wiped off profits, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Andrew. Now we get to 2024, which is what this graph, all of this research represents, because that's the latest one. 2023, 2024. What do you think the registered profits were in 2024?
Well, I'm hoping they've obviously recovered. People are going back again. So I'm going to say it's near the 2004 levels, around 45-50 million. Oh wow!
74 million. Let's call it.
Wow.
Now it's gone down in pub size, 800. But I think that's just impressive, Andrew.
Do you know what? If I had a hat, I'd take it off to the guys. That is super impressive because it's not just 73 million.
Yeah.
It's, plus the losses. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't see the 2021 figure, but you've got 73 million plus the 36 million at 2023. So it's 100 million. It's made 100 million, really.
I just think it's brilliant, Andrew.
Yeah.
I just think it's brilliant, honestly. And yeah, that's how resilient this business is.
Well,
and it's
do you
going
know what? I mean, you hear a lot of weird stories about Tim, but you can't knock the guy.
No.
You can't knock the guy.
No, like honestly, and it's going to get worse. As in, you're going to get much more appreciation for this guy. I don't mean to brown nose this guy, but like, what can I do? Because the more I look into how this operates, I'm just like, I'm flabbergasted as to how resilient this business is. And remember, the hospitality sector was the hardest hit.
Massively.
I mean, I can't think of any other. Even I don't even think gyms were hit this hard.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Massively. Yeah.
It was because people were still paying their gym fees to some degree, and I don't know, but this is bad. Like, do you know what I mean? This is bad, right?
I mean, they were still paying rates. They were still paying rent. Insurance and
this is what I mean, Andrew. I don't know. I just think this business, like, and as a businessman, this guy's. So let's go into a bit into Tim Martin, right? Let's see what this guy's really about. Okay, so this is Tim Martin. Okay, so I got no flashy stuff on this thing, right? So this is Tim Martin. He actually graduated as a barrister.
Oh, really?
But rather than being a barrister, he just went straight into the pub business, right?
Good for him.
Okay. The guy looks a bit like a guy called Noddy.
Yeah, he does.
Noddy.
He does look like
the minute I saw him, all I thought was, "Oh, here it is, Merry Christmas."
Funny enough, he looks like him, but didn't they ban music in the pubs, in the Wetherspoons?
Yeah, they decided to go music, and that's the thing. He achieved all that without going music, no sports, none of that jazz. Like just straight beer and drink.
Beer and food.
And crap carpets, right? Yeah. So he looks a bit like this guy, Noddy, and I just thought to myself, I'm going to get a picture of this guy. And then I kind of like Googled, Tim Martin looks like, what's it, Noddy or whatever, yeah? And then someone, honestly, they made me laugh so much, yeah? They were like, he looks like Noddy, but with no Edmund's hair.
True.
And I couldn't unsee that after that, right? True. But anyway, brilliant. Okay, so this is where it all starts to go a bit weird, right? So, so he being Tim Martin was a strong advocate of Brexit. Now, I've literally trailed old videos, and you can, audience, in your own time, look at it, right? His angle was one of the many angles that Farage had, right? And that was MEPs, which are the kind of the members of Parliament of the European Union. They're not elected.
No.
It's they've got represent, but no one's elected them. And it's just like, why are we being governed by a load of people that aren't elected? That was his gripe with it. That was pretty much it. But there was no mention of, let's get foreigners out of here, or do you know what I'm trying to say? Like basically the aspects of the Brexit campaign that were kind of tarnished with more racial undertones, that wasn't really what he was about. He just happened to be on a side, a bit like you can't assume that every Trump supporter is a Trump supporter because of immigration. They might be a Trump supporter because they like the economic policies, or they want cheaper oil, or whatever it may be, right? So the fact that he was kind of one of the biggest business, the biggest entrepreneurs to kind of advocate Brexit, a lot of like Remainers really disliked him.
Well, the immediate thing comes to mind, and I think probably maybe not be that relevant coming to think of it because of the timeline.
Yeah, is
the ability to go and buy alcohol abroad and bring it home and drink it.
Yeah.
Because you could go to France. Yeah, we used to do the drink runs, didn't you?
Yeah.
And maybe that was perhaps a little bit of a financial or selfish reason as well.
A lot of people mention that as well. Look, I just think, I don't know. Just looking back on it, I mean, Brexit happened because the majority of Britain voted for it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know, but there was a bit of fallout from that because basically during the COVID period, he had a session with his employees where he said what he actually said was, "I would understand if you go for supermarket jobs."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why did he say that? And this is from what I've heard from him say whatever. Allegedly, I would say allegedly just because I don't know what the laws are behind me saying what he said when YouTube and all this type of stuff. But the gist that I got from it was supermarkets were the only jobs that were open back then because
Yeah.
they were part of the what do you call them, essential jobs.
Essentials. Yeah.
So his establishments were closed. So he was just like, I would understand. Like I think he couldn't pay the full wages at a certain point, like many other businesses, and he was like, I would understand if you go for a supermarket job. I'd understand if you leave us to do that. That's it. It was just there's understanding. Well, oh my God,
I can imagine.
all the Times, all this type of stuff. They went to town with this, Andrew,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, Tim Martin tells staff to go get Tesco jobs."
Yeah.
Oh, not Tesco, supermarket jobs.
Supermarket jobs,
And you know what? I'm going to explain what his chairman's statement was about. And honestly, what a funny read. Honestly,
Really? Okay.
like again, I've read loads of chairman statements now, especially being part of this podcast, and none of them have been entertaining. This one,
Right.
I mean, I would have, yeah. I highly recommend. Anyone wants to laugh, just have a read of it. Yeah, right. So these were the main 5 themes. Number 1. Why on earth do pubs get charged VAT for hot food and supermarkets don't?
Yeah.
Like, so it's all about equality and VAT. So
Yep.
this is his thing, right? He goes, pubs, they pay for anything they pay for VAT on anything you consume inside of the pub.
Yep.
Okay. Whereas supermarkets don't pay VAT on anything. There's zero VAT on it, right? So he's like, okay, so that makes sense. Men say, because you go into a supermarket, you get your food, you bring it home and you cook it. So why should you pay VAT? Okay, no problem. However, what he says is this creates an unfair advantage for supermarkets. Why? Because they sell the food and pay zero VAT. So the VAT they do pay on alcohol, they subsidize with the fact that they don't pay hot food on the other stuff.
Well,
Sorry,
more and
the
more
fact that they don't pay
supermarkets-
VAT on the hot food or food full stop. So it spreads out the VAT cost of alcohol, and in this
Right.
way, they can get alcohol down.
down, right?
Right.
But I'm a bit confused, and maybe I need to look into this. Is that more and more supermarkets are now selling, roasted chickens? I mean, I went into Morrison's yesterday, and they've got a hot counter where you could buy whole roast chicken. You could buy, excuse me, cooked sausages. I don't know, chicken wings and bits and pieces. I wonder if there's VAT on those.
No, 0% food VAT.
Okay.
Whereas pubs, they get charged VAT on everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, why does this advantage exist for supermarkets and not for us?
Didn't
Yeah.
even think of it.
And-
Absolutely right.
But he's a massive advocate of this. So he's always had a political campaign.
Right.
So for example, he also headed the campaign to not change the pound to the euro,
Okay.
and he was right about that
Yeah.
because the euro didn't perform well at all
Yep.
after that. So the guy, for someone who again is not loved by the nation, he seems to kind of always have Britain at heart. But again, that might just be me falling victim to the propaganda. I don't know, right? But that's just the impression I get. Now, the next thing that was super interesting as well was he calls it daft government rules.
Right.
So he says in the 80s they spent so much power, they spent so much regulation trying to reduce pub opening hours, and then they relaxed them after that in the 90s. And it's just like they're always experimenting with rules against pubs, because the idea is, right, if people drink less alcohol, it's less burden on the NHS, etc., right? But again, his argument is, all right, fair enough, you want people to stop drinking alcohol. Supermarkets pay less, they get their alcohol cheaper in a supermarket. So do you prefer them to go and drink in parks, to go and drink in their homes where maybe they can get into domestic issues, arguments with their neighbours, blah, 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 blah? Or would you rather just them go to an establishment where there's security, where there's rules, where there's some form of regulation and witnesses, if you will, to help control the antisocial behaviour.
But again, you know, I may be oversimplifying things, but surely, you know, the clubs that are open till early hours of the morning, with youngsters piling out at 3 o'clock in the morning, half cut or fully cut, that doesn't really happen in pubs as much.
Well, this is it. I mean, because there's music pubs as well.
That's right.
I guess, look, I'm not trying to say, oh, look, you know, pubs are all free of all sin or whatever, but all I'm trying to say, I'm not sure about that argument, Andrew. The truth is, I'm not sure. But do you prefer people to go into supermarkets and buy, you know, a big litre bottle of dry cider and sit in a park or on a bench, right?
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper. Or would you rather just them being an establishment where at least there's a drinking place? It's an it's a drinking place where people should be drinking. It's well looked after, and it's regulated to some degree, right?
I just think, and I'm sorry for going off piste here a little bit, I just think that, you know, when we look at Europe as a whole, and then we look at the island of the UK, in Europe, alcohol is just, it's nothing, you know, it's just something you have with your meal or occasionally.
Right.
But I think the drinking hours law is what has driven the, you know, get peed, you know, get sloshed as quick as you can before the pub shuts.
Absolutely.
Yeah? You hear the bell going and people are rushing to the bar.
To just overload their alcohol. So it's daft. And I agree with him, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's also, he goes, look, you want an extra stupid rule that the government tried to implement. He goes, some smart people in Cambridge decided to write a paper that said that if you sell smaller pints, aka schooners, which are 3/4 of a pint, people will drink less. He's like, no. Turns out schooners, they've actually rolled out in Australia. It's made zero impact at people drinking.
Yeah, of course.
People are just going to buy more. Done. Done.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just stop sodding around with something that people, do you know, all you're doing is just squeezing people out of more money.
Yeah.
And anyway. So yeah, that's very interesting. The next thing where I just went, boom, wow, what a smart guy, right? He goes, and this is completely unrelated, why do boards, so this is like, you know, when you think about listed companies, Nike, and in fact, Nike is a great example. I'm a shareholder of Nike, so yeah, maybe I could slag it off a little bit, right? I go into the annual accounts of Nike. Right. Who do I see on the chairman's board or the executive board, allegedly? Again, I'm going to use that language because I don't want to be, get into trouble. Tim Cook is on the board.
Right.
And it just proceeds to be like these CEOs for other big companies that, of course, have no time to oversee the operations of Nike.
Yep.
Like honestly, with someone like Tim Cook, who has probably never sold a trainer in his life, probably only started wearing trainers 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
What business does he have being on the board of Nike?
Yeah. No, it's a general trend. It's a general trend.
So he's just like saying he goes, on some of these listed companies, there are members of the board that are doing this for 300 companies.
Yeah.
And he goes, and they come along with their checklist. They don't do any regulation. They've got no experience of the field. What the hell are they doing?
I'm not sure if it's a look at, you know, who we've got on our board, but, you know, it's quite standard. I mean, you look at some of the politicians that we have, you know, instead of focusing on getting the country sorted out, they're also members of boards of.
How do you have time? How do you have time to even make a comment? Very political. Honestly, highly recommend it.
Agree with him. I think, you know what, this guy is he's like the Jeremy Clarkson of the pub industry.
Basically, he's starting to look like him a little bit to me. So guess what he's done? All right, Tim, you're giving it the big un. You know, every member of his board has pub experience. How about that?
Amazing.
How about the fact that he rotates 2 members of his board that are actually field managers to come on board? So they do a party before the chairman's thing. They come and they say their concerns in front of the whole bloody board.
Wow. Nice. Nice. I'm liking this guy.
Like,
I'm liking this guy.
I'm telling you, right? Something else that he does. Again, I'm sorry for brown nosing this guy, but I just have to, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So I've heard this rumor, right? Because I actually had an ex-partner that used to work in Wetherspoons as a barman.
Okay.
He turns up randomly to pubs. That's his job. He just goes from pub to pub to pub and has pints. Now you'd think, oh, he's going there because I used to work for Monsoon, etc.
Like a secret shopper type thing.
Oh my God, you know what I mean? And everyone just
Yeah.
No. He goes there, and he just has a genuine chat with them, right? And what he says is, so I knew he won't BS in here because I watched an interview with him. Sorry, where he was talking about one of his favorite books. So he was talking about Sam Walton's book, right? Sam Walton, before he died, he wrote a manual on how he built Walmart.
Yeah.
Sam Walton was one of these keys. Honestly, what a boring read. I mean, you read the first 2 chapters, and the rest of them are just repeat.
Right.
Where all he did was, for those of you who don't know what Walmart is a massive shopping chain that started off with one small store and ended up becoming like a Costco, if you will, right? They sell everything really dirt cheap, right?
Yeah.
And how did they do that? Well, this guy became obsessed with every single detail of his shop. I mean, I'm talking about measuring everything by the centimeter, squeezing operational efficiency to the squeezing his suppliers to make sure that he could get massive orders, learn how to fly planes so that he could distribute things in a better way and more economical, and bring the price down for the customers. That's his hero, basically.
Right.
And what he does is he goes to stores and he just speaks to the staff to ask how they can make stuff more efficient. So his thing is, how can I fix inefficiencies in my operation? And that's where the whole idea for the breakfast is. Do you know what I'm trying to say? All of these different changes. It's just him hearing what the customers are saying and what the staff are saying and saying, right, that's what we're doing this year. So he incrementally improves his business, which I think is just brilliant. So again, it's just that reflection of this guy. Like, he's just like, if you don't hold experience, you've got no say here.
Yeah. I completely get it. It's just like you've got, like I say, you've got politicians on boards of several companies. They don't have time. They probably don't show up for anything.
Yep.
It's just to have their name on there. Why would you be on a board of a company unless you've got experience in what that company does? It just makes absolute sense. And
do you want to go a bit further on this?
Yeah.
How else does he put his money where his mouth is? He gives shares to all of his employees.
No,
fantastic. Guess what the average timeline is for a pub manager?
No idea.
Yes.
What retention?
Yeah. How long does a pub manager work at Wetherspoons on average?
Oh, I haven't got a clue, mate. Couple of years?
15.
What? 15 years as a pub manager now, that has got to be a good place to work.
Right, second thing. Yeah. Kitchen staff. So the head of the kitchen staff. Yeah. How long do you think that person works in Wetherspoons on average?
That's got to be high turnover. It's got to be a couple of years.
Head of kitchen, 11 years.
Wow.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Listen, again, all of these facts that I've seen so far from what you've presented,
I don't know.
I can't knock the guy.
I don't know. Like you can talk out of your ass.
Guy working in a kitchen and he's there for 11 years.
Mate, honestly, flabbergasted, because I think that's a crap job.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is where I will become objective. I like Wetherspoons food, but I like sometimes crap food. If that makes sense, right? Yeah. Wetherspoons food is not sexy by any means.
Mate, their breakfast, does what it says on the tin.
It's an oven. It's an oven job. Get that out, sorted, bish bash bosh. It's not exciting. So for the fact that their retention rate, average. I don't care I doubt there's one guy that's been there for 150 years and then average that out. The point I'm trying to make is the average is the average. It's 11 years, right? Yep. In that type of job, something's got to be going right. I don't know what it is.
It's, like I say, they're not pretending to be something else. They're not pretending to be a gastropub. They're providing you, with half decent tasting food at a good price that you can have with your pint.
And in fairness, that ex that I told you about, ex-partner, she had done Wetherspoons for like 4 or 5 years.
Wow. There you go.
So, I've got a real life story, and I'm not going to say she was like, oh my God, but she didn't hate it. I'll take that one for free.
No.
So very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting to me.
If you look at if you take the job in this industry, right? You've got poor hours, not the best pay in the world, right? Unsociable hours, etc., etc. So it has to be half decent for people to stay there that long.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Yeah. So, fourth point.
Yeah.
He has quite a...
This one has shocked me, actually.
Yeah, he has quite a bit of a whinge on how Scotland is biased against Wetherspoons.
Right.
Some of it is a bit victimish, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just being straight with you. But yeah, he actually puts a table in the annual accounts where he's gone and he's done a survey of... so they've got one in the town centre. And he's gone and checked the rents elsewhere. And his one's almost double.
Wow.
So he's just like, this government's got it in for me, mate. You know what I'm trying to say? Wetherspoon gets quoted higher rents. And then the fifth point is fighting false headlines.
Yeah.
So you see this headline bit below down here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a link embedded into his chairman's statement that takes you to another thing with apologies from something like 13 newspapers.
Wow, really?
He went after every single one of them.
Good for him. I am liking this man very much.
No messing around. I'll tell you that for free.
Him very much.
Like, I don't know. The petty spirit, the operational efficiency spirit, the no-nonsense spirit. But then you hear the guy on the interviews.
Valuing your staff spirit, with shares and things like that.
And you know what? You watch the interviews and he sounds like a bumbling buffoon, and everyone's just insulting him. But I'm just like, nah, mate, I don't get this. Like, someone explain in the comments, if you hate this guy, and you've got a legitimate reason, and even if you don't have a legitimate reason, just put it down in the comments, because I'm interested. I want to know why the nation hates this guy, or whether I'm wrong. Maybe they don't hate him and have just been looking at the wrong headline. So, Andrew, we're going to give the audience a bit of a break from the PowerPoint, because we've been killing them with PowerPoint, especially over that last slide. We're speaking over it for like half an hour. Put Del Boy on.
What do you think I am, mate? Some sort of Wally.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go into our Wally of the Week segment. It's going to be pub related. Right. So let's go into here. Let's hone in a little bit into the impact of that schooner scenario, the 3/4 of a pint that they're suggesting, right? So this has been rolled out in Australia.
An ice cold pour at the local pub once earned the nickname Liquid Gold, and right now in some parts of our city you'd be forgiven for thinking that's exactly what they're serving up.
Over $10 for a schooner seems a lot.
Newtown.
$10, that's $6 that's £6
That's
roughly.
a lot of money, isn't it?
For
Bloody
3/4 of a pint.
And you see the head on that?
Mate, it's mad. I mean, this guy's literally having a nosebleed because of it.
It is.
To there and the city. I wouldn't go there.
In true Sydney style, it's location that determines the price, the great schooner separation, dividing our city.
So there's a King's Cross in Australia, you'd like to know?
Of course there is. Of course there is.
North and east from our west. Is the beer better in the east?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Beer's definitely better at the west.
A schooner of one regular strength costing $7.80 at Auburn's Melton Hotel.
Whereas you go to the city, the prices are just sky high, and I don't know why.
$7.80 at Penrith's Red Cow.
Ridiculous prices.
Out here.
Out here, yeah, still ridiculous.
That schooner, $8 at Parramatta's...
Mind you, the schooners look terribly the same. Like, they look exactly the same as a bloody pint, don't they?
I do, didn't they? I was going to say that. I think it's just maybe like, they've just shortened the glass a little.
It doesn't scale on the screen, but
Royal Oak Hotel and the Rose and Crown. But head east, we're drinking the beer beachside at the Coogee Bay Hotel, and the nearby Coogee Pavilion means at least a $12.
Do Australians only drink in hotels? Because this woman seems to have only gone to hotels.
For a 3/4 of a pint. You're having a laugh.
Dollar spend on one drink. At the Oaks in Neutral Bay, the same schooner, nearly $10. You don't think you've been...
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. Absolutely
mad. And obviously the Australians don't like it. And they like a drink, don't they?
Well, they're pretty much the same as us down here, So, I just thought, Wallies, absolute Wallies. Of course you're not going to... But you know what? They'll try to give that a go one day. Because that's just the way they are, right? It's a cash
Listen.
cow. It's a cash cow for the government. And we're going to get into that in a bit. But anyway.
Of course. I mean, our government is always looking at what can we disrupt? What can we do that we can earn a little bit more money and mess around with tradition, with history, with everything, and just think about the British pub, right? Yeah. Even even on TV, the most popular TV programs. Crossroads, not Crossroads, what am I talking about? Coronation Street. EastEnders. What's it called at Coronation Street? Rover's Return, right? Then EastEnders with the Queen Vic, and then you've got the other one with the Woolpack or whatever. It's the British culture. It's stop messing with it. Stop messing with it.
Absolutely, right? Okay, cool. Now, I thought this one was a bit light-hearted, yeah, but January. It's meant to be Dry January, right?
Right.
Well, this guy's really mastered the art of life.
Oh, okay.
What's happening? I love Dry January. It's my favourite. It's the best time of year. I'm a drinker, and if you're a drinker, it should be your favourite too, because we got the whole pub to ourselves. I swear, we walk in the bar, we all look at each other, give each other the nod like, what's happening, brother? Yes, mate. No queuing for a drink.
Yeah. He's loving
No one's in the cubicles. You can go straight in for a cheeky line. It's fantastic. God bless whoever thought this shit up. Do you know what? I think we should do February. What's that?
I just thought that guy was class. Absolutely. Let's get back onto this, right? So, our business deep dive wouldn't be a business deep dive without some form of strategy, right?
Okay.
A strategy outline of what they're going to do. This is interesting because with Wetherspoons, there isn't actually like how usually when you got when we're looking at curries, they'll have a page that says, hey, this is what we're going to do next year. Yeah. There isn't actually really a page like that. Some priorities, but it seems to just be every day is a strategy day, if that makes sense for this, right?
Yeah.
But I did unearth some key themes from the chairman's statement again, which really kind of shows how they're going to grow and how this stock's going to become an even more valuable stock, right? Right. So, first thing is, since 2010, they invested 458 million in converting, their rentals properties into freeholds. So they call this freehold reversions, right?
So the leasehold, they've sort of bought the freehold to it.
Exactly, right?
Right.
So right now, well, according to the last statements, 72% of the Wetherspoons are owned fully by Wetherspoons.
Great. So that means that they've actually got property that they own.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about this, right, 72, let's just say they've got 800 Wetherspoons, they said, right, today, right, to the latest one. So I'm just going to do some calculations here because my maths is a bit pants. So let's do 800 multiplied by 0.72, and that's 576 pubs are fully owned by Wetherspoons.
Nice.
Brilliant, right? Now, that's interesting because I'm going to write that down because we're also, in this episode, going to look at what the market cap is for this business. So this is a very McDonald-esque
I was just about to say that because McDonald's is a property company, not a burger company.
There we go. Well, again, learning from the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Next, they started opening up franchises.
So
the first one was opened up in Hull 2022, which I think is kind of interesting because I thought they would have franchised way before that. In fact, I was speaking to a friend and I was showing him this presentation. He was like, "Oh, I thought it was a franchise all along because they couldn't fathom the fact that they would own so many."
Yeah.
And I think this is a very smart move. Why? Because if they're anything like McDonald's, and we'll find out if this is the case in the future, what they'll do is, let's just say I'm in Hull. I want a franchise of Wetherspoons because I want to own a pub, but I just want the benefits of scaling. Sourcing the beer and the prices and all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, what do? I rent out the property. I use the Wetherspoons brand.
Yeah.
Once it becomes successful, what's Wetherspoons going to do?
Yeah, buy it.
Buy it.
Good.
Right. On my risk of money.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So let me take the risk for your benefit.
Yeah.
That's the McDonald's model. If you look at
Yeah.
we should look at the McDonald's model one day in the future, right? Well, that's exactly what they do. They sell you the franchise,
Yeah.
and they sell you the franchise, and they tell you what property to run it on, and you
Correct,
pay
yeah.
them, be it McDonald's, the rent.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to call it a scam because you still make money off a franchise, but bloody hell, talk about heads I win, tails I don't lose much. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? I think it's just class.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And you've got, you've got something. There's nothing worse, because that's what used to, when you thought of pubs, it was like leasehold property that was either owned by the breweries or whatever. You had to pay rents, you had to pay lease fees, you had to do this, and it just makes absolute sense.
Yeah,
makes absolute sense.
Right,
and you've got equity. Right now, you've got equity.
Honestly, I think it's brilliant. Right. Third strategy: adding space to pubs. So they've got pubs. Why don't we build a beer garden?
Yeah.
Why don't we build an exact same one across the road? So now, and I've seen that a bit. Like, when you see two Wetherspoons on one run, you're like, what's going on here? Why would they compete? Yeah. That's the case. It's just they become ultra successful. Okay, now we'll just do another one right in front of it so that we can share the load.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, do you know what? Beer gardens, and I'd love to find some facts on this. It's what attracts a lot of people to the pub. Yeah.
Especially in the summer period, my friend.
Well, you know what? Even in the winter, you got a little heater outside. You sit outside, and it may not be your hardcore beer and lager drinker, but it would be like somebody, even if they've sat down for another coffee, like you say, or a short or something. They're going to have a smoke. They're going to sit outside. They've got the heater on, and it's going to just make you stay there longer.
Right. Next one. Expansion. So by 2030, they want to get to 1,000 pubs.
Right.
They're going to get there.
Yeah.
All in all, Andrew, my conclusion on this one is this is a good business. This is a well-run business.
Yeah.
To be able to absorb that cost of COVID, it's expansion. It's got a clear plan.
Yeah.
It owns property. And, in the spirit of improvising, because it can't all just be PowerPoint, right? So if we look at this, the market cap, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah,
the market cap
746
million. Now, if it's got 576 properties that are bought outright, a lot of pubs get converted into flats.
Of course they do.
It's probably sitting on 500 million on property costs already.
Well, you know what? Like you say, it's either going to, if it decides that it's not working in an area, it's either going to sell the place, convert to flats, shops, restaurants, whatever it may be, and then it's going to get a rental income.
It's just, for me, I don't understand why it's 746 million, Andrew. I really don't.
Yeah.
Can you see the chart or?
Yeah. I see the chart.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then let's
What's the 5-year figures look like?
Right. So if we look at 20. So do you remember when we said 2014 it started to really slam dunk?
Yeah.
Right. It was going on an upwards trajectory. I'm talking like from 2009 all the way up to 2019, 500% return. 5x. You would have 5x your money in pretty much 10 years. Yeah. Which is pretty decent, right? And then obviously COVID hits, and then we're down at 43% loss. Yeah. And today it's now on 59%. But honestly, I think this is a banging. I mean, if you like Britain, if you like the cause, if you like the fact that they employ good staff in this country, if you like the ethics, this is not a bad stock to own.
No. It's a long-term investment one, but you know what? I like the fact that he's putting his money in property. I think that's a class move.
Absolutely right. And then I look into. So this is what I was saying about the accounts, and this is just to give you a flavour of what the experience has been. And I think you can always tell a lot from a business. The simpler the accounts, the better the business, because there's
Yeah.
they're not hiding. They're
There's,
just,
there's
like,
nothing to hide. Yeah.
when a company does really well, Andrew, what's the first thing they tell you? That it's
Yeah,
done well.
profits.
That it's
Yeah,
done
yeah.
well. It just
Yeah.
it just throws out the figures. When it hasn't done well, you get the green emissions and the macroeconomics and and however we did well in that and everything but the figures. This is just straight. Let's go.
Yeah. Our cockroach killing department saw an increase of 30%.
Exactly. No.
Yeah.
This is no nonsense. Look at that. Look, Andrew. First page, nothing swanky. Not even a picture of a pint. Yeah. Second stage, contents page.
Yeah.
Third page, boom, complete breakdown.
Figures.
Right?
Yeah.
We're talking financial year, number of pubs, total sales, profit and loss, earnings per thing.
Oh, what? Music. Yeah, it's just bliss. It's
Cash
bliss.
flow.
You can see exactly.
Free cash flow, no nonsense. What's it? Fanny's your aunt. What's it?
Yeah.
What's
Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your
Fanny's
uncle. Bob's your uncle, Wonky. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, right?
Well, it could be these days. Bob could be your auntie.
Yeah. But it just straight out of gates. Boom. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about this recovery situation. Let's talk about our freehold ownership. Let's talk about our expansion. Let's talk about our franchises, earnings. No nonsense. And then you can't be serious. And it goes straight into his rant. Which is only about a page and a half, and we're in. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
And then he
goes.
goes.
I tell you what. You know what? That is what they should all look like. Not 2 million pages of
nonsense.
Rubbish.
Absolute nonsense. Honestly, it's. And he goes into.
Look at that. Alcohol duty, PAYE, national insurance contract, everything that's important is broken down.
They've paid £6.2 billion in tax revenue in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, it's mad.
Yeah. It even got down the fruit machine duty.
Yeah.
Even there, look.
Andrew,
Climate change levies.
Andrew, if you work, warning to everyone, if you work in the hospitality business in the UK and you want to find out how to run a successful hospitality business, or you want a small understanding of just how difficult it is, crack open these accounts and say, and wait no more. This will tell you everything. Hats off to the guy.
Yeah.
You've seen the other ones I've shared, Andrew.
Yeah.
Has it ever been this straightforward?
I've read a few, and like it's that book you mentioned. After page 2, you want to hang yourself. You think, where the hell's the information I want?
Exactly. So that's that. Okay, so Andrew.
Yeah.
So now we've done the annual accounts, right? So that's the deep dive on Wetherspoon. But I'm not done yet, because I want to leave the audience with a sense of, okay, right, man. So you brown nosed this Wetherspoon business, right? But what about the pub industry in general?
Yeah.
So I've now I've given you a digest of the McDonald's of the pub industry here in the UK.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the smaller independent pubs, right? And just the pub genre as a whole. What does it look like when you don't have economies of scale? And this power. Obviously, Tim Martin must have had some form of resource to get this funding like this.
Yeah, of course.
This is too good to be true for the guy to achieve this much. But again, I don't want to take too much away from him, right? So, by the way, his dream is to do what Sam Walton did, which is to write a book outlining how to run a pub. So he's actually working on that. This document here is pretty much a guide on how to run a pub.
Yeah.
Not a comprehensive one, but just like a real bird's eye view of, okay, you're thinking of running a pub. Let me give you a couple of templates of how much it could cost, etc., etc. So it goes into small community pubs. I would say, hey, look, this is for a scenario where you're 90% drink, 10% food, 70% drink, 30% food, on a different level. Yeah. We're gonna pick a town centre pub.
Okay.
So we can make the assumption that it's a city-ish pub, right? And a city pub being a split of 70 to 30 on drink.
Yep.
Okay, Andrew. So we have the breakdown of what it costs to run the average pub in a town centre, right? So again, 70 to 30 split. Yep. Okay. So quick guesstimate without looking at these figures, Andrew, right? So this is a pie chart.
Yep.
First of all, four of the major costs are in this pie chart.
Right.
What do you think the number one is for a pub?
It's got to be staff.
No, it's actually the drink in
The
itself.
drink,
Right?
of course. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know you meant included cost.
So
cost of
getting
sales
these
product.
getting these costs here on the side, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is based on a weekly average. Okay.
Yeah.
34.3% goes on the cost of the drink.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Next one.
Rent.
Staff. Now this will be without considering.
Oh, okay.
The rent.
Yeah, staff. Yeah.
Staff is a 23.8%.
Right.
Okay. Next.
Utilities.
Utilities is actually less than 10%.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next.
Food.
Food. So food, 12%.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So what is your guess on the actual pre-tax profit?
Based on
A weekly average, right? So bearing in mind, these are the costs we got. They've got food
Right.
cost, drinks cost, wages.
what are they turning over a week?
So they will be turning over 10 grand 300.
10,300 a week pre-tax profits.
This is a minimum.
Yeah, I would estimate it's got to be quite low because I don't think they make a huge amount of money. I would say pre-tax 2 grand a week.
Andrew,
Yeah.
it's 13.8%.
Right. So
So
what's
we're
that?
looking at something
1,300
like
quid.
yeah,
Yeah.
per week,
Yeah.
pre-tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't make a lot of money.
I don't think that's a lot for
It isn't.
all of that
It
revenue.
isn't.
For all of that revenue that's being paid.
Yeah.
Imagine you've got a big chunk of it going to staff, a big chunk of it going to drink,
Yeah.
a big chunk of it going towards food costs,
Yeah.
and you think about everyone that's involved in that supply chain.
Yeah.
Like it's a
you've
good
got
business.
things like unexpected costs. Things like when things go off, food goes off. You're going to throw food away. You're going to get breakages. You're going to get whatever. And when you look at the amount of hours that you have to put in as well, yeah. I mean, just because the pub's closed, it doesn't mean they're not working.
Right. So I see it as this, like, and you mentioned here like rent. What about rent? Well, rent's not on this.
Yeah.
This is just the assumption that you own one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think, look, you look at these places, you go, oh, they must be turning over millions, and not really.
Yeah.
So yes, salaries are part of that, and you can pay yourself a high salary, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is just, I think it's definitely a labor of love.
Absolutely.
They don't always win. And a successful run of this is that scenario. Worst case scenario, we're talking about 1,500 a week in profit. Best case scenario, probably around the same amount. Because if you look at the difference between these two figures, it's not that much, right? Yeah. So I just think if you go back to what Tim Martin did at scale, you've got to appreciate it. You've got to appreciate it, right? Yeah. So that's a bit of look into this now.
Well, I think what I've seen recently, Lindsay, is that pubs are going back to the almost the old days, i.e. the 70s, 80s, where you relied on pub quizzes, you relied on darts instead of stupid, paying Sky fortunes just to watch a football match, etc., etc. So yeah, I think it's a tough job, mate. I looked into it years ago, and even then I thought, God, I'm not going to earn anything out of this, and thought, do something else.
So there's one more consideration that we haven't taken into place, which is everyone thinks about pub equals alcohol. And that's it, right? It's just an alcohol and establishment. It's just to have a laugh and that's it. But actually, do you know what the best seller is in Wetherspoons? What the best draw? Is it draw? Is that how you say it, draw?
Oh, the draft.
Draft, sorry. What is the best selling draft of Wetherspoons?
I was going to say a lager of some kind. I bet it's not. I bet it's sort of like, I don't know, lemonade or something.
Pepsi.
Pepsi, yeah.
Pepsi. Pepsi is the number one seller draft for the business. So it's not just
Pepsi in particular, because they do Pepsi
That's
rather
what
than
they
Coke.
do. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah,
Pepsi,
right,
yeah,
right.
you can't get a Coke but you know, it just goes to show it's not just a place where people go for alcohol. There's other reasons, right? So, you know, we earlier on you mentioned that they've got all these interesting establishments, blah 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 blah. Well, actually, let's just quickly go into some of the interesting places that Wetherspoons has actually managed to. Not grand finale. Let's go into analyze it. So Wetherspoons have bought these really interesting buildings. We have the Palladium. So they've got all these old theatres that were at risk of closing down, and rather than knocking them down, they've just turned them into pubs.
Okay.
So the, you know, places with like old architecture. If it weren't for Wetherspoons, these places would be dead.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Look at that. They bought an opera house.
Lovely.
And they turned it into a pub. And guess what? Once a year, they close it down and they do an opera show.
No. Oh, how nice is that?
This would have turned into a...
Have you ever been to an opera show?
No.
Oh, okay.
This would have
Maybe we'll talk about that one day.
But this would have turned into flats.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, true. Right? They've got just wonderful old historic buildings that are preserved.
That one in Liverpool.
Because of this, right? And funny enough, it's so incredible because they also have a vault. So they actually bought a let me show you here, Andrew.
A bank vault.
They bought a pub that has a bank vault, and you can actually have a drink inside of the vault. You see that?
Yeah.
Look at that. I just think it's brilliant. They just preserve all of these incredible buildings.
But he's also very clever. You know, he's you know, I know we know him as the no frills pubs. You know, and yeah, admittedly, you know, that's the core of the business. But I think he's also after the younger crowd as well. He's got the Lloyd's #1 brand. Right. Which is more around music, younger crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he actually did make a confession that he actually lost 100 million of the business's money trying to open up music pubs near the Wetherspoons pubs, but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
So he had to close them down. But he's always innovating. Yeah. And but anyway, off his back onto the purpose of pubs. So this is just one example of how the pub industry is helping to preserve national buildings and stopping them from just turning into a load of flats, right? Yeah. But here I've actually got a video by a lady that owns a pub in East London.
Right.
And she's going to talk a little bit about. Can you see the lady?
Red?
Yeah. She owns the George Tavern in East London, and she's going to talk about how pubs can be spaces for the community that go beyond just going to have a drink. So let's have a listen. Let's have a listen at this, right?
At all. So everybody, it's all right if I use the toilet. We never refuse.
Oh, no, that's great.
So, first point, toilets.
Yeah.
And that's true. You're on the high street. You need a loo. You go into Costa's. Can I use the loo? What are you getting back?
Yeah, getting told to get lost.
You go into a MacD's. Their toilet is locked.
Yep.
Name me a place where you can go have a slash. Go on.
It's honestly, mate, it's difficult.
It's usually a pub. It's usually a pub.
I have actually told Paula, right, to pretend she's pregnant. And I'm not saying my wife's fat, but that was the only way that she could get into have a toilet.
So this is my point, right? Pubs are probably the only place where you could go have a slash and get away with it for the community. And listen to what she said. So this guy's... You just said about pretending to be pregnant, right? Look at what this guy says.
Can I think this is actually quite an important issue. What is the etiquette of using a pub loo? Because sometimes I get very worked up about it. I get very nervous.
Oh.
So I always have to go to the loo.
Okay.
It's just one of my things.
Uh-huh. Well, I think everybody.
And when I go into a pub to use the loo, I get myself tied up in knots. So I sort of pretend. I sort of go, Becca, waving at my imaginary friend. pretending that I'm using the pubs.
But that's the point. At least you can get away with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, where else can you have a slash? Unless you pay £1.50 in one of those toilet things that are on the street. And even those are a dying breed nowadays.
Yeah.
So I just... That's one thing that didn't dawn upon me, right? But we'll continue.
On our doorstep, they all come into the George. They always say, is it all right? And we always say, yeah, it's okay. They don't have to buy a pint. They don't have to feel guilty.
So the thing that she's explaining here, is in East London, there's a whole market. There's no toilets.
No.
She allows the whole market
to go in and
go in and use her loo because she's conscious of the fact that in that 1 mile radius, there's no toilets.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I still have the council on my back about the state of my toilets, without them having a consideration of the fact that she does that for the community.
Yeah.
And I know that's real because, again, if you go back to the Wetherspoon's report, he makes this is Tim Martin. He makes a big deal about the fact that they have the pub toilet awards, right? So so they get scrutinized over the. But it's just like, guys, where else can you use a toilet?
Yeah.
We do allow people to go to the loo, but again, I would like a bit of recognition from the council.
Yeah.
When they're giving us a hard time about this or that, feeling like they really want to take our licence away, because I don't know why I feel that, but I do.
She's being diplomatic here, obviously.
Yes.
We need more love from the authorities and from the government, and more support and more understanding and about what we're actually achieving. The way I started thinking this was a good location for different things, so we started doing filming in there. So I've had loads of major film. I've got Gandhi being filmed next week.
Right, so that's another place as well, right? Another thing. Pubs are always seem to be the starting point for our major artists.
Absolutely.
So we think about gigging, a crap pub gig is the first thing. The Beatles.
Yep.
So many artists have their first break in pubs.
Yep. Even comedians, mate. It's not just music, even comedians and stuff like that. So
where else are they going to go and perform for free to a decent audience?
Yeah, they go and perform. They maybe get a couple of pints as payment.
But I'm saying where else? Okay, let's control out delete pubs. We've all turned them into flats because that's what we need. Where else are they going to go and perform?
Yeah, no, they're not.
In the pub upstairs.
I thought they'd already done Gandhi.
But there's another one now. Young Gandhi.
There's always time for.
We've got the lowdown. There's going to be a guy.
We've had loads of music videos filmed.
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, Justin
How
Timberlake.
Did you know that?
I did my research.
Nick Cave did 3 music videos.
Oh wow.
We've had
cooler.
Right.
And of
it
London
is
culture
in
as well.
Stepney.
Yeah.
And last year we're the only pub left in Stepney.
Imagine.
We've got another one open just a few months ago, but for a long time we were the last pub. They all have closed around me. Yeah.
This is East London, Andrew.
I know, mate. I know.
This is East London. It doesn't get any more pubby. Well, maybe it does, but in my opinion, in London, like East London was. I mean, you got the Cray Twins films that were all about going to pubs and having like
the Long Good Friday. You could go on.
Do you know what I mean?
You know, EastEnders. I mean, come on, it's the Queen Vic.
Right.
It is amazing because I think it's 21,000 hospitality venues close every year. 23,000, 21 businesses a day in hospitality.
23,000 businesses close every year, mate.
Yeah, that's how
in the
tough it
hospitality
is.
sector.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, the government.
And then you're just doing that to them. You're doing that to them. Yeah. Honestly, why are you charging these businesses VAT?
It's not just that, mate. It's just what she said earlier about the threat of having your license taken away. Your license. I mean, come on.
I have to apply for a license for you to scrutinise me and for me to pay you tax.
Yeah.
Something about
license. I mean, how many businesses need a license now?
I wish we had
I can go and open a cafe tomorrow.
I wish we had a doctor
I need a
here.
certificate for cleanliness, but that's it.
I wish we had a doctor here for them to kind of counteroppose and be like, you don't understand how much NHS resources we get from pub people. I would love to have an opposite view here to help me understand why this is in place, but I'm not getting it right now.
Well, actually, then that gives me a good idea, and maybe we can think. I think the next one should be, me and you opposing views.
We'll see. But let's go. So another point that she makes is also that actually pubs are community buildings. Like, if you, I remember reading an article where they were encouraging older people, especially during the winter period, to go into community centres to get heat.
Yeah.
Pubs serve that purpose as well, mate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, literally, old people go in there, they can sit there with a coffee for hours and hours and hours, low consumption, and socialise with the community. Where else are you going to do that, Andrew?
Well, I don't know, mate, but, you know, I just think that was the whole point of pubs. Pub is short for public house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a public house where you went. You know, you didn't have to drink. You went there, you had a chit chat. Maybe you had one drink that you sat there, you read the newspaper, you just chilled out at the end of the day. Or like you say, if you were older people, you'd go and meet your friends down at the pub, and you know you'd buy half a pint and whatever it was. Yeah. But it's not become it's either been closed down or turned into, you know, other venues or flats or whatever. And I you know, it's a British institution. I think that we need to, and I'm not saying, you know, we need to make sure these pub owners own loads of money or whatever. Yeah, they should all earn a living. That's what they're there for. But they also serve a purpose other than earning a living and selling alcohol.
I agree. I mean, let's hear what this lady says at the end as a conclusion.
Important point about how pubs are so much more than just somewhere to go and drink. They are, for lots of people, a bit of a lifeline. And at a time when lots of people are lonely, lots of people are struggling with their mental health, lots of communities feel very marginalised. Actually, the importance of having a place to go, a pub to sit in, a warm venue where there are lots of people around, I think really can't be kind of underestimated, and it's important.
Andrew, bless us with your final thoughts. How do you feel about this analysis?
Again, like I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm not a big pub goer, and I think maybe that's not really what I should be going to pubs for. Having looked at today, it's not, you know, it isn't just a place to go and have a drink. I never even thought of going to a pub and sitting for a cup of coffee and waiting for my next meeting in London or whatever, you know, and I think I should be doing that. So I think it's a dying industry from an independent point. I think Tim Martin has done an amazing job, and long may it continue. But I also think that the UK government, or the British government, needs to sort of look itself in the mirror and say, you know, don't think of it as a cash cow or an industry that needs lots of licensing and bylaws and what have you. I go back to, you know, when you look at any television program of the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, they're all based around a pub. They either start in a pub or the pub is the major thing. And that means it's the hub of a community. And I love the fact that she's letting the people in the market go and use the loo, because as you say, you can't, there isn't anywhere to go. I just feel that it's the major thing that they're fighting next, is the cost of employing staff. Yeah. And that's going to be a major challenge for them, you know.
Well, you add national insurance to that as well, because that. But anyway, with that positive note, I hope you've enjoyed it, Andrew. And
I loved it. I think,
audience.
You know what, I've discovered a new hero.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I really am really happy to have learnt about Tim Martin and Wetherspoons, because up to today, I'll be honest, it was just another brand name selling alcohol. But I will make, I'll make a special effort to go and sit down and maybe have a breakfast.
Any pub.
Yeah.
Like any pub, they're all heroes.
Guys, go to your pubs.
Yeah, go to your pubs, absolutely. But with that said, we're going to leave you with our outro music, which happens
to be our intro
music.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.